Hello and welcome to Mediation Works. I'm Wendy Lakusta and I'm here with my colleague Sharon Sutherland. And we're doing another episode in our series that we're calling Happiness Hacks. And today we're going to be talking about the happy brain chemical called dopamine. And we have two special guests with us today. We call them our happiness experts. And Sharon, I'm going to ask you to introduce our guests.
Yeah, I'm happy to, Wendy. Our two guests are two people that we've invited partly because they're people that I spend some time trying to find happiness hacks with. When we were first talking to Lauren about the different chemicals and the way that they impact the brain, you might recall that I asked her fairly specifically, is dopamine generated by video game play? And the reason for that was simply because I've actually been playing a lot of video games myself, and these are the two people I've been playing the most with. These are two of my daughters, Darsey and Rowan, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Darsey, and I am actually also the director and videographer of the Mediation Works series. So you've seen my name pop up if you've been watching any of these videos, but I think this is my first time on screen. I'm also one of the board members of CORE Conflict Resolution Society, and have been working with CORE for over 10 years now, doing all of their video work as well. And I really love to play games. I love video games and I love tabletop games. That's my jam.
Hi, I'm Rowan. I definitely wouldn't refer to myself as a happiness expert. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm actually a lawyer. I was called to the bar here in BC just this year in June 2020, so in the middle of the pandemic. And so finishing up my articling year and then being called to the bar during the pandemic has also meant that I've found solace in video games. I have been a tabletop gamer for most of my life, really, and played video games throughout as well. And I guess we're going to be talking specifically about Animal Crossing, which is a great game that both of us and Sharon have all been playing.
So that's a great segue, actually, into asking about Animal Crossing and dopamine. And what about the game do you think helps us release that happy chemical?
I think there's a few things. The setup for Animal Crossing New Horizons is that you are a small avatar who arrives on a small island, and you are building the island community as you go and kind of crafting things out of items that you find. So there's a lot of, fishing and catching bugs, planting flowers, and each time you do each time you fish, you are surprised by what little fish you find, and there are a whole selection, so you might end up with something brand new that you can add to the museum collection or sell at the store. And similarly, catching bugs, you're catching new bugs as the seasons change, and there's lots of little things like that.
Yeah, one of the things I like is that it does sort of shift throughout the seasons, so you never get to a point where you stop getting that reward sensation. If you've been playing for a while, you will have caught a lot of the bugs, and it's still exciting to catch them again, but less exciting than catching a new bug, which you could donate to your local museum. But as soon as it's a new month, there'll be several new types of bugs to catch, and so there's always that opportunity to catch new things and really generate that reward chemical. There's other things that will just occur randomly as you're walking around the island, like there might be a present floating by on a balloon, which you can also catch, and then you never know what sort of thing that might be. It could be money, it could be new furniture, it could be anything. So I think that's that's part of what makes it such an exciting game.
Yeah, the last thing I'd add to that is the other kind of place that you get your surprising interactions is from the other villagers. So you are able to invite other villagers from a selection of at least a couple hundred. As they kind of circle by your village, you can say, "Hey, why don't you move here?" And they'll set up their own little house, and you'll be able to talk to them every day and potentially do little errands for them, or pick up some little presents from them when they buy 2 of something at the store. Lots of little things like that let you have a kind of happy pick-me-up.
Yeah, and I'm kind of conscious that when we were kind of playing it beforehand, one of those little surprise things was running into Pascal, sort of as an example of somebody who shows up when you catch a scallop, when you find a scallop when you're diving, and suddenly Pascal is there. Not every time, but sometimes. And when Pascal is, you can give him your scallop, and that kindness act is rewarded with a pearl. So there's quite a few. I find the same kind of thing. I was going to say, one of the things that happens with us, because we play on the same device. So, people can have their own accounts. As it is, we play on one account on a device, and we each have our own little avatar and our own house on the island. But that does mean that while we're not visiting each other and on at the same time, we're never synchronously on our island, that there's still opportunity for collaboration. And I have to say, one of my proudest mother moments was when I was told that because I didn't play as much as Rowan and Darsey do, that one of my daughters is financially supporting me while we play on Animal Crossing. I don't know. Did you want to talk at all about collaboration and that opportunity?
Sure. I mean, I'll start by just explaining the financial support, I guess. In this game, one of the things you're doing is trying to raise money to pay off your debts. And one of the nice things about that is that there's, no time limits and no interest or anything to worry about. So it's very much a low pressure sort of debt repayment plan. But you get the reward at the end of having paid it off. And so I'm quite close to having paid off all of my debts at this point, and therefore I'm able to sometimes support Sharon by just leaving a large bag of money by her doorstep.
Very exciting when I tune in and I see how much money is sitting at my doorstep.
So that's where the reward comes in. But the collaborative aspect, I think, is really great, and it goes beyond just sharing an island. I think, I have had the experience of being able to visit friends. So one of the things you can do through the online version of Animal Crossing is go to an island run by someone you know in real life and see what they've done. You can share certain items and things that can be helpful that they might have that you might not, and that you might be looking for, but you can also just explore and see what it is they've done and then show them what you've done. And it's very low pressure because it's primarily about decorating your island and doing what you want with it. There isn't this need to sort of, well, at least in the groups that I associate with, there isn't this need to show off or have the biggest or best thing. There's no sort of win condition in this game. Instead, it's about sharing what you've done and what you're proud of with your friends.
Yeah, I appreciate the comment about no win condition, because I think the flip side of that is there's also no loss condition. You cannot lose this game. It's impossible, which is also really nice and continues that low pressure, no pressure feeling, so that you can step away for a bit and come back when you need a little dopamine hit, and there's no feeling like you've missed out or missed something. You just return to where you left off and wake up in the morning and start picking shells up off the beach and have a nice time doing that.
And I like the idea of engaging with others. And you've talked a little bit about that. Can you talk about other ways that you engage with others?
Yeah, so that extends beyond what we've done. Mostly, Rowan has visited some of her in-person friends and gone to their islands and taken a look around and explored. But there are some larger community events that are taking place that way, including concerts. There are some bands who are running concerts through Animal Crossing, sharing their music and having set up little cozy cafes to host them in. There's even a group that was using turnips that had gone bad and inviting you to come to their island and drop off your turnips that have rotted. In exchange, they would make a real life donation to, I believe it was a food bank. So some interesting things are happening where people are finding ways to use this game to more broadly create and build community. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, I think there's also some cool ways to collaborate with people you don't know and never will actually meet or get to know. So, for example, there's quite a number of different ways that you can generate art in the game, and that art can be used on, say, the ground of the outside. So it can be made into pathways that can be any design that you can imagine and create. Similarly, you can design clothing, you can design face paint, you can design all sorts of things. And there's opportunities through a portal in the game to look at the designs that other people have made and chosen to share freely with the community, and you can save those and use those designs. And so, my pathway outside my house is a design that I found through one of those portals. I don't know the creator, but every time I see that pathway, I think about how cool it is that they put the effort into making that art and then were willing to share it.
Yeah, that it's all very interesting. I want to ask about something that I know is a change in the game from when you were playing when you were younger, and I thought it was kind of interesting. But tell us a little bit about the new conflict resolution tools.
Yeah, so that is interesting. Isabel, one of the people who works on the island, has a little help desk that you can go visit her if you're having trouble with one of the avatars on the island. You cannot put a complaint against, say, a sibling who also has a house on the island. I checked.
You tried.
I checked. You can't.
We checked. We both checked.
I've been financially supporting Sharon this whole time.
But so what you can do is you can say, hey, this person has been, speaking to me unkindly or something in that nature. You could sort of lodge a small complaint, and what she will do is take that in and promise to have a little communication with them about their behavior. We did a little experiment before shooting this video to just check what that would do, whether that would affect our relationship with the person we complained about, and it doesn't appear to. It may be a bit of a placebo effect.
They didn't apologize after?
There was no apology, so not sure what that's about.
But Snake was really nice to me afterwards. So while not acknowledging any wrongdoing, we were still good.
There is a second piece of conflict resolution that's included in the game, and maybe you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so one of the other things, and I don't know if this is exactly conflict resolution, but is that you are able to sort of make choices as to what villagers you have present on your island. So from time to time, villagers will come to you and say that they're thinking of moving on from your island, in which case, if they left, then you could bring in another villager. But you can tell them, oh, no, we love having you here, or sure, I mean, I'll look forward to seeing what happens to you in the future, depending on whether or not you'd like them to stay. But you also do have the ability to let a villager know kindly that maybe it's time for you to move on. So if there's a villager who has a personality, because they all have distinct personality types that maybe doesn't quite mesh with what you'd like, you can ask that villager to move on.
I love how you framed all of that. It's like you have taken Mediation 101 and you've learned how to reframe some of the language.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you'd like to add about the game and dopamine?
Well, I think that the last thing that is worth saying is that the game itself is set up as a very peaceful place. I think we've said there's not a lot of risk involved, not a lot of pressure, and so those little pieces of dopamine, those little moments of pick-me-ups, are spikes in a relatively peaceful, calm game that can be very easy to open for maybe even 5 minutes and just have a little moment of calm to your day.
Yeah.
So that's great. I want to thank you both for joining us today. I'm going to check it out. I think it sounds great.
You definitely should.
And let us know where you're at, Wendy, so we can come visit. We'll bring presents.
Yes, we'll bring presents. Thank you.
Now we'll stop doing free advertising for Animal Crossing.